research on electrogravitation. In other words, regarding gravity as an electrical force which can be utilized for propulsion. The U-13 department of the SS concentrated their efforts on this technique. This was the means by which the Honeybu flying saucer was powered. Here you can see the construction plans of the Pt.2. The computer graphic enhancement shows something of the look of these Honeybu flying saucers. The engine is very likely to have been designed by Captain Hans Kohler and built by the German AEG company in 1944. The engine being called the Kohler converter. This engine was designed so that it needed a relatively small amount of energy to activate it, this energy coming from an accumulator or battery. After a short time, the Kohler converter built up sufficient energy transformed from the gravitational field of the Earth This is a diagram of the Kohler converter, and this is a photograph of the actual converter, operating on a principle of genius simplicity. This is a preliminary sketch of the Pt.2. The cockpit here is outlined in red. With a circular driving unit beneath, outlined in purple. With adjacent space for people or soldiers. This machine was built somewhat like a modern ship, designed to be self-sufficient for long periods of time, with sleeping space and working area. Looking a bit like the brim of a hat, the saucer part of this machine is the means by which it is steered. This being achieved by emitting an electrically generated force in the chosen direction. There were a number of other spherical and saucer-shaped prototypes also built at this time, but using conventional rocket power. Under the code V7, a number of military prototypes were developed. These were concurrent with the V1 and V2 rocket developments. The Schreiber-Habimol flying machine was a jet-propelled vertical takeoff and landing craft developed in 1942. The first three prototypes were badly damaged when tested, and the project was abandoned. Dr. Richard Miti, in cooperation with the Italian researcher Dr. Giuseppe Belluzza, also worked on a flying machine which was round in shape, and developed a new V7 prototype. Here are two photographs of the V7, Hitler's new wonder weapon. On the 7th of April 1944, Miti showed construction plans to Hitler and demonstrated the vehicle in flight. In this photograph, Hitler is standing next to a model of the new prototype. This V7 saucer was built with 12 BMW engines of the type 028. V7 rose to 20,000 metres on the first test and 24,000 metres on the second test. Helium was the fuel used in this machine. Here is a plan of the V7. After this, a new smaller type called Vril was developed. Here you can see a sketch of the Vril. And here's a photograph of the test flight. Work on these unconventional flying machines was a race with time, since conventional rockets were also being developed, and it was a matter of competing for resources, materials and manpower to build them. These are some of the rockets being developed at this time. Every nation involved in the Second World War were developing new weapons. But the real wonder weapons were not associated with fire and noise, but were being developed and propelled quietly and secretly. An intermediate step was Project Fireball. The Allied forces called them Foo Fighters. The Fireballs were developed in Vienna Neustadt, a small town near Vienna, under the technical group of the SS. Here is a photograph of the Fireballs in flight. These were radio controlled with no people on board. They were also called Flying Turtles, and due to certain new fuel combinations, they emitted a strong light. Developed to disrupt the ignition systems of enemy aircraft. This fits in with numerous reports of power failures associated with UFO sightings, including the New York blackout of the 60s. Next we have a drawing indicating the relationship between the Earth's magnetic force, seen here with the North and South Pole, and the electromagnetic field around the flying saucer. This is a list of 261 flying saucers, including 3 Honeyboo models and 84 Vrils. These were built towards the end of World War II. As well as this, there were some Metaphile 7. The Honeyboo had a diameter of 25 metres. The development and construction of these flying machines created the most top-secret documents and the most top-secret projects of the Second World War. The engine of the Honeyboo was the Kohler Tachionata electrogravitation motor in combination with a Fundegraf belt generator. Most of the photographs are of the Honeyboo 2. Here we see the rooms inside the Honeyboo. From these drawings we can imagine what it would have looked like inside a German flying saucer. The red markers here are indicating guns on this saucer. These are photographs of the Honeyboo 2, probably taken during a test flight. We can see a gun on the bottom of this honeyboo.